Welcome to my life. My name is Tolu. I'm a Christian dating coach and I specialize in showing single Christian women how to go from single to married in a year. So if you want to work with me one-on-one to learn how to go from single to married in a year, even if you've struggled to get into relationships, you're currently not dating anyone, or you're stuck in a situationship/relationship you're not sure about, click the link in my bio and first tab to book a call with me. If you're the right fit, we'll hop on a call. I'll give you a simple plan that we're going to be working on together to get you from single to married in a year inside my one-on-one dating to marry program. So let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Today I want to talk about guessing what a man wants. Part of the dating process really involves understanding how men think, understanding why men do the things they do, so that you know how to position yourself strategically for the kind of relationships and connections you want. So drop in the chat where you are tuning in from. And if you have any questions from me and you're watching live, make sure you drop it in the question box. So a couple of things I want to go through in understanding about not guessing. First thing is you really have to set your standards. And when I say set your standards, I mean that your standards are fixed. They are not flexible. Your standards are not negotiable. Your standards are not up for debate. Your standards are not convenient. So what I mean by that is, if you know you want a man that has a relationship with the Lord, don't go and be dating an atheist. If you know you want a man that is comfortable with your financial position, that is also able to provide for himself financially, don't go and date a man that isn't in that position. If you know you want a man that has a particular background, if you have a preference for the kind of background, whether educational, professional, or otherwise, ask yourself why that standard is important to you and let that guide the way you date. Your standards are there. They're like a thermometer in a room. They are there to set the temperature. They are there to set the environment. They are there to regulate the experience. So if you tell me you're not having a good experience dating, I know that there's something wrong with your standards. That's usually the first thing I look out for when I work with my clients, which is why when I'm working with clients that maybe haven't been in relationships in years, or are attracting men that want them to get pregnant out of marriage, or want them to move in out of marriage, I ask them about their standards so that I'm able to understand what kind of environment are you creating that is making those kinds of men comfortable around you. And when I re-regulate, or when I reset the standards, going with that analogy of a thermometer, it immediately changes the way they attract men. So your standards are going to regulate how you attract men, and it's also going to help you understand the kind of men you're dealing with if you stick to the standards you have set. So ask yourself, are you sticking to your standards? Why do you have the standards you have? Standards are basically general filters that will help you regulate the kind and quality of men you're dating. They're based on facts. They're not based on feelings. So it means even if you think an atheist is attractive, the fact is that is not your husband. And the fact is your standard is set to date a man that already has a relationship with the Lord. So you cannot date that person. That's what standards are for. They're meant to be a guide. They're meant to help you regulate the way you experience dating. So that's the first thing. Now, when you set your standards, it's going to make it easy for you not to guess what a man wants, because you're putting your own needs first. And I see a lot of women in the dating process, you don't put your needs first, which is immediately, going to be a problem, because if you're not able to stick by what you desire in a relationship or what you desire from a man, he's going to take advantage of that, okay? Not because he's a bad person, not because he doesn't want something serious, but because you don't require that of him. So a lot of you say, he took advantage of me. He actually didn't take advantage of you. You just didn't require him to do what you desired. And if you want to not be guessing what a man wants, you need to know what you need. So you need to know what you need from a relationship. Do you want a relationship that's leading to marriage? Do you want a relationship where a man is a full provider, providing all the things? Do you want a relationship where you feel like you can express yourself and he's encouraging you, a relationship where you both have professional accomplishments and can talk freely about finances? You need to set the pace for that relationship to actually materialize in your life. If you're not doing these things, do not be surprised if a man is taking advantage of you, asking you for money, taking advantage of your finances, dating you for years without commitment, really abusing your emotions to his advantage because you didn't require him to provide you with a certain level of experience when you were dating him. So what I like to do with my clients is I make sure, literally, because when we work together one-on-one, we'll not only be having calls every single week, but my clients also get tech support from me. So I'm in their WhatsApp. In fact, one of my clients, it was just my birthday. One of the messages she sent me was about that. She doesn't like seeing my name in her WhatsApp chat because I'm in your business, literally, every single day, just making sure that you are keeping in step with the path that I know God has aligned for you to step into the marriage he wants. And that requires you to be able to express your desires to the men that you are entertaining. And meeting men isn't a problem. When we start working together one-on-one, I show you how to meet men in your routine, and online I give you my strategy. So that is how I basically help my clients to come in contact with men, and that's how eventually they meet and marry their husbands, and they get into relationships that lead to marriage, because I help them. The first thing I do with you is increase your visibility in a way that it's valuable. So what I mean by that is you are visible to men that can naturally see your value, that you don't need to be communicating or exaggerating or over explaining that you're a valuable woman, you're a woman of substance. They can literally experience it just by being in your presence. I work you through that process. But back to what I'm saying here, and I will come to visibility in a second because that's also important. When you are expressing your desires to men, it's easier for you not to be guessing what a man wants, because a lot of you, part of your problem in dating is you're so focused on trying to please a man that you're not even paying attention to how he can please you in the dating process. What do you require of him to show you he's serious? What do you require of him to show you that he's somebody you could consider as an eligible candidate to be in a relationship with, to commit to? That is what you should be doing on your end in the dating process. Another thing is, if you don't want to be guessing what a man wants from you, you communicate. Okay, both of you have conversations. A lot of you are expecting these men to figure out what you're thinking. They cannot do that. You need to communicate what you want. You need to communicate what you're looking for, and communicate it in a way that invites conversation. Do not be there being all dictatorial or being rude or being excessive, because what happens through that is you will break down the relationship instead of building it up. And the relationship, I'm just speaking generally, I don't mean both of you are a couple. You want to be constantly communicating to men what you desire, and also opening up the avenue for them to communicate to you what they desire from you as well, because this will let you know if both of you are in alignment, and it simplifies the dating process. Part of the reason why you're getting drained from dating is you're just not doing these things. You're not sticking by your standards. You are not communicating your desires. You are not making it clear what exactly it is you want in a relationship with a man that you're getting to know. So of course you're exhausted. Of course you're tired, because you're attaching too much effort to the dating process when it's actually supposed to be very seamless and enjoyable and very fluid in the way you experience it. So you want to communicate with men what you want, allow them to communicate with you. There's no no one should be playing guessing games here. It should be very clear. It should be well articulated. And the thing with men is you need to watch out for not only what he says, but how he says it, because that will tell you a lot about if he means what he's saying. Actions also always speak louder than words. So if you're telling this man that you're looking for a serious relationship and he's telling you he wants to see how it goes, and you are there entertaining him, all he heard is you are open to seeing how it goes. He did not hear you are looking for a serious relationship, because that's what your actions are communicating. So part of my process, when we work together, is making sure that your actions are constantly reflecting to a man that you desire to be in a serious commitment, that you desire a healthy, committed, exclusive relationship that leads to marriage, that you're a woman of substance that carries her faith, and that translates into the experience that he has when he's around you. But because you're not doing this, it's very difficult for you to understand what a man is actually interested in, because guess what? He doesn't know what you want either. So he's just doing whatever he feels is going to work on his own end, and you're creating confusion. And then another thing, if you don't want to be guessing what a man wants, you really want to be clear about the direction you're facing. Okay, so when you're traveling, maybe you're in a new location and you're taking a trip, you're going to use Google Maps or ask a friend. You're basically going to get directions, and the directions are to facilitate you knowing that you're facing the right, you're going the right way. Maybe you look out for a landmark, or you look out for you look out for a cafe or a store or some sort of indication on the street that you are heading to the right direction. That's why in dating, it's important for you to have landmarks, dating landmarks. Let me call them that. Basically, dating landmarks are letting you know that, okay, this is heading to the right direction. Very simple examples are he's calling, texting, you guys are talking, you are going on actual dates. He is showing interest in getting to know you, and he's being very intentional. Those are simple landmarks to know when a man is consistently interested in you. You don't necessarily need to have the conversations. The experience will be clearly exhibiting to you that he is interested. So part of the work I like to do is making sure that you are constantly paying attention to dating landmarks to know if you're headed in the right direction or if you're just repeating the same cycle with a different man. So if you don't want to be guessing, have dating landmarks. Have landmarks that let you know that, okay, we're heading in the right direction. He's somebody that I can build with. He sees me as somebody that he can build with as well. Another thing I will mention is throughout this process, it goes without saying, but I will say that it's of course first in everything you do. You want to make sure that you're communicating with the Lord. I see a lot of misunderstanding when it comes to how the Holy Spirit communicates with women of faith in the dating process. Part of my program shows you how to hear from the Lord, speak to the Lord, and how to pray with authority over your marriage so that you can uncover any spiritual delays, embargoes, if there are any, and you can really learn to be sensitive to how the Spirit of the Lord is leading you as you're meeting, talking to, dating, and committing to men. So having said that, one of the things you want to look out for is, what is the Lord saying to you through this dating process in this season, at this moment in time? What has he been repeating? What has he revealed through your interactions with men? There are certain patterns that you will see, and it may not come through a dream. It may literally just be an experience that you keep having with different men. That's a pattern in itself, and God may be trying to tell you something. So what I'm trying to say here is, when you involve God in your dating process, you have a completely different experience, and it changes the way in which you are making yourself available in dating. You will find that you no longer depend on how men perceive you. That's important, and I'll come to that in a second, but it is not priority. You focus instead on what God is telling you and how he is leading you, and that will really make it difficult for you to become emotionally compromised in the dating process. You're very welcome. So happy to teach. You're very welcome, Utolicious. Thank you. So it's important that you are prioritizing your relationship with the Lord through this process. If you stumble, it's fine. And when I say if you stumble, I'm just going to keep it real. If you fall into sin, if you find yourself compromised, it's fine. When I say it's fine, of course, sin is not something I'm trying to, normalize here. Sin is a sin. When I say it's fine, I mean you can still go to the Lord. He's always going to be there. Don't let the enemy use it against you. So part of the work I do with my clients is I just create that safe space where we can talk about sex. We can talk about any, struggles you're having in the realm of lust or whatever, so that I can help you through that process to be able to build the resilience spiritually to stand on your feet and to walk with the Lord confidently. You don't need to be perfect to be married, okay? You don't need to be perfect. There are many women and men that are not perfect. In fact, their character is questionable, that are married. So it's not about that. You don't need to be perfect to be married. You don't need to reach a certain level of self-awareness, but there is a process that's required because you're on a journey, that you're on an assignment. So I believe that if you are called to marriage as a woman of faith, that is an assignment that is on your life. So because it's an assignment, just like the name implies, there are certain tasks attached, so to speak. And that those tasks are meant to be completed to facilitate the accomplishment of that assignment and to release and manifest that assignment in your life. The assignment in this case being marriage. So, when I'm working with clients, I like to give them a very holistic experience when it comes to how they are looking at their dating process. We don't only talk about the practical elements of dating. We also talk about, okay, how are you hearing from the Lord? What has the Lord said? I walk them through their fears. I walk them through sins that they're struggling with. I walk them through how to communicate with the Lord, how to hear from him, how to interpret what the Lord is trying to show them through dreams, promptings, revelations, and so on. I mention this because that is going to factor into how you interpret a man, what a man is saying to you. Because he could be saying, I don't know, he could be saying, I had a good day, how was yours? And the Holy Spirit is telling you he had a terrible day. So you really need that higher level of awareness when you are dating that comes by the Spirit of God to be able to facilitate how you interpret the right men for you. Another thing that I will say, like I said, I'll circle back to it, is being in a position to communicate to men not only what you desire, but also being in a position to hear what a man desires from you. Because I want to be clear, it's not everything he desires from you that you have to do. If you're not available for it, you're not available for it. Just because he asked you for money doesn't mean you have to give him money, okay? Just because he asked you to come over to his house doesn't mean you have to go over to his house. You really want to be clear around, because I see a lot of you making these mistakes. You want to be clear around what works for you and what doesn't work for you, so that you are in a position to have conversations with men that actually align with what works for you, and you're quickly eliminating men that aren't in a position to give you what you want. And when we're talking about the way men perceive you, that's very important. Why? Because it's not all men that you are trying to position yourself to attract. Okay? I'll say that again. It's not every single man you're trying to position yourself to attract. You are not trying to attract a man that is not looking for marriage. You are not trying to attract a man that isn't interested in a healthy relationship with the Lord at the center. You are trying to, so those kinds of men, you're not trying to position yourself for that. You're trying to position yourself for a man that is interested in building a godly foundation in your home, that is genuinely interested in getting to know you as a woman that he could potentially see as his wife, that is interested in the honest pursuit of your heart. In other words, he is showing up and, pushing through to show you that he's intentional. That's what you're positioning yourself for. So the way men perceive you will help you understand if you're accomplishing that. But you really need to pay attention to the kind of men that you're qualifying through that lens. So what I mean by that is, if a man that has shown you he's not serious constantly invites you to his house, doesn't make you a priority, is telling you that, I don't want a relationship with you, that isn't a problem, because clearly that kind of person cannot give you what you want. But if you are noticing that all men that you are having, that all men you're interacting with are saying the same thing, a couple of things could be going on. And this is just one example. Any other example applies. Just ask yourself, what's a recurring experience you have with different men? A couple of things could be going on. It's either you're attracting all the wrong men, or you're just not attracting enough of the right men. Either way, it's a positioning problem. We need to change something in the way you are positioning. And by positioning, I simply mean the way men perceive you, the way men see you, the way men desire you. And you will find that when you start positioning yourself correctly, you don't have to guess what a man wants. You don't have to guess. He will tell you, he will show up like it, he will push through, because when men have a desire to commit, especially when they have a desire for anything, really, they pursue. So it will be very clear, because pursuit requires focus, it requires consistency, it requires action, it requires intention. So you will find that when you are now positioning yourself in such a way that naturally speaks to and attracts the kind and caliber of man you want, you won't be guessing, right? Like, I'll give you an example of literally any client of mine that is now married. Their husbands, their boyfriends, even my clients in relationship, their boyfriends were very clear that, I'm looking for something serious. I'm interested in you. I want to get to know you. I want to marry you. Let me take, what are the next steps? They were very intentional steps. And they were never guessing. If anything, the only questions they were having was, is this actually happening? Because, usually when I work with clients, this isn't a usual experience. But when you come into my program and I work you through the process of dating to marry in our one-on-one sessions, you start to have this experience, which ultimately leads to the point of meeting a man you can marry, because he wants to marry you. Okay. So if you're finding that you're always guessing what a man wants, the positioning is probably the problem. You're not positioned the right way. In other words, the way men perceive you, they don't see you as a wife. An example I always say is, they probably see you as a placeholder. So if you're a placeholder, you're someone they are using to occupy their time. Now, a placeholder can take many forms. You could literally be his girlfriend and you're still a placeholder. He still doesn't. And the previous video I did talked about this. Being a girlfriend is not the goal. If you want more clarity on that, you can watch that video. But sometimes he may even make you his girlfriend, but you're still a placeholder. He's not going to marry you. He just wants to be in relationship with someone, and you are the most convenient, comfortable option around. Okay. A placeholder could be you are just entertaining a man that keeps making you promises but doesn't deliver. Whatever it is, oh, we'll talk about this later, or we'll go on a date, or I'm serious about you, I want to see you. Just promises with there's no proof. Promise without proof. That's he's made you a placeholder. So you don't want to be that. Okay. So if you're in that position, you'll find that you're constantly guessing what a man wants. That's probably because you're a placeholder. But when you're dating like a wife, you won't be guessing. They will be very expressive about it, because those are the only men you're entertaining anyway. Right? And part of the work I do with my clients is creating the capacity, emotional capacity. I've talked about this, I think in my last live. I talked about it in my last live, my last Instagram live. But you want to create that capacity for men to naturally want to commit. Okay. So what that looks like is being able to hold space even if you're single. Being single is actually the fastest way to get married, because your singleness, your single status comes at a cost. So what I mean by that is, it is costly for you to get in a relationship, and the man has to deliver for that to happen. They don't call it off the market, quote unquote, for fun. In other words, you have to pay a price. So when you are entertaining men, you really want to ask yourself, what is the price he's paid? In other words, how has he shown up in your life in a way that makes it clear that he is genuinely interested in you? And how has that replicated itself? In other words, how has he consistently shown up in that way to let you know that this is actual evidence? Not one time, not after multiple arguments, not after trying to convince him, not after he's ghosted and come back into your life, not after he's made excuses, not after your multiple arguments. That's not what I'm describing here. I'm describing the actual opposite. A man that doesn't need all that effort on your end, or doesn't need all that emotional exhaustion on your end to deliver. So when you are dating that kind of man, and when you're entertaining that kind of man, you won't be guessing. He will show up, because he is very much interested, and he wants to show you that through his actions. Do we have any questions here? Let me know if this is helpful. Do you have any questions? What do you think about asking God for a specific sign to know if someone is the one, like writing a letter, even though there has been other general signs? Okay, so I don't believe asking God for a sign is going to give you the answer you're looking for. In some cases, God does give signs, but usually it's not it's not something that you can predict. So what I mean by that is, it will usually come in the form of an instruction. So he would have led you to request for a particular sign. But you can't just wake up and say, God, give me a sign, and so on and so forth. You want to make sure it comes from a place of your relationship with the Lord, where you have a strong impression that is how he wants to speak to you. If you are looking for confirmation from God, it's very clear. God does not like chaos. He doesn't like chaos. So if you're dealing with a chaotic situation with a man, and any man that is wrong for you, they always bring chaos. So when I say chaos, I mean confusion, I mean lack of direction, I mean constant exhaustion, I mean you're going around the same mountain, you're going from pillar to post over the same issue. I call it a Babel experience. Remember the Tower of Babel, when God when the Trinity, the Holy Trinity, basically said, let us go and confuse their language. That's what it is. You are both saying A, but nobody is hearing A. You are hearing B, C, D, but you are definitely not hearing A. You are saying spoon, he's hearing fork, he's hearing knife. He never heard spoon. He's saying spoon, but you cannot hear it. That's God scattering everything. So I always say God does not like chaos. If you are dealing with a man that is bringing chaos into your life, that is your sign. Okay, if you are looking for any sign. So the Lord is always speaking. The point is, are you paying attention? Because sometimes, he speaks in ways that require your focus, right? You can't tell God, oh, show me in this way. He may not answer you, as I'm sure you've experienced. And usually if you're doing that, you probably already know the answer. You're just trying to fit it into you. You're just trying to a part of your subconscious is trying to find an out. Let me put it that way. But yeah, you don't need a sign. The Bible is there. Go and read the word. Just turn to the scripture that's relevant, or Google it. Ask Google, what scripture is relevant to ABS if you don't know the scripture. If you like, open your Bible anyway. Ask the Holy Spirit for help. He will show you. He can literally turn a simple passage into a whole message. So, that's an option. That's a more reliable option is what I mean. God is always speaking. Sometimes, just like as you mature as a child, nobody needs to tell you don't put your hand in hot water when you are growing, when you are a teenager or an adult. But as a baby, of course, you will not put hot water around the baby. It's the same way God is with us. When you are a child in the faith, when you're a baby, He will protect you in ways in which that He will expect you to be able to take initiative when you become a teenager in the faith, or even a child, for lack of a better way of putting it. But yeah, you don't want to be guessing. If you find that you're constantly guessing with men, you're just dating the wrong men and you're going in the wrong direction. You're basically doing the opposite of everything I said you should do. Your standards are a mess. You're not dating with direction. You are probably not communicating your desires. You're talking to men that are not in a position to provide you with the level of certainty and clarity that is required for you to be able to confidently have a healthy relationship. And some of you, you're in this situation. I'm talking to you. If you're in a relationship that is heading nowhere, I'm talking to you because you have no business being there. It's not going to change. Nothing is going to change. All that is going to do is time will pass. More time would have been spent and you would have wasted your own time, because it won't have been his fault, because you willingly acquiesced to that situation. So it's important for you to take accountability also in your dating process. What are you responsible for? So when I work with my clients, I make everything that we do is on their end. I've never met their husbands. I'm not a matchmaker. My skill is just making sure that you are visible and your value is being perceived by your husband so that it attracts him into your life and you can get married. That's what I do. But I've never said, oh, Jane, this is John, he's your husband. Never done it. And I say that to let you know that everything that's required of you to get married is within your own individual capacity. Because every single client I've worked with through this process that have gotten them to the point of marriage, and every client that I am working with now to get them to that point, it all depends on the work I do on their end. Because you can only control yourself. You can't control other men. And that's something else you'll do. If you're constantly guessing what he wants, you're trying to control something that is not available to be controlled. You're probably trying to control him. You're trying to control what he wants from you. You're trying to control how he sees you. And you can't control any of that. All you can control is yourself. When you start working on yourself, creating opportunity to be visible and your value to be tangible and irresistible to the right men, you will naturally start to meet quality men. So what I like to do with my clients, in our one-on-one sessions, is I review your conversations with men, because you will be meeting men with my process. I review, how you are making yourself available. I literally walk my clients through the step-by-step process of how they, process their communications with men, the men that they're talking to, how men are pursuing them, so that they are available for the experience of actually stepping into a marriage. Okay, you cannot say you want to get married and you're not available for it. It's like saying you want to travel but you never go to the airport. It's just not gonna happen. You're saying you want to hop on a flight but you don't go to the airport. It's not gonna happen. Okay. Introverts that want to put themselves out there, use your introverted status to your advantage. I've had clients that are introverted get married as well. So what just needs to happen is, there's nothing wrong with being an introvert, but what does that actually practically mean? Does that mean you never go out? If not, try online dating. If you don't, try online dating. If you do go out, leverage how you show up in public, work on building the relationships that you already have. One of my clients, she met her husband through a family friend, but she was putting herself out there. I was helping her to communicate her desires to men, to get comfortable receiving gifts from men. That's something else I've noticed as women, that can be a potential problem. When a man is intentional with you, he wants to give. You won't be guessing. Let me put it that way. You won't be guessing. He constantly wants to give you things. He wants to give you his time. He wants to give you gifts. He wants to give you his attention. He wants to give you exclusivity. He just wants to give you stuff. He wants to give you his last name, because he's intentional. So even if you're an introvert, it wouldn't stop you from getting married. Even if you were just going from church to work and home, you can meet your husband at church. You can meet him at work. You can meet him on the way to work. You can meet him through a friend. You can meet him at a traffic light. I want you to really start to understand you can meet men anywhere. So whether you are introverted or extroverted is irrelevant. Because I see this, I think one other live I was doing, somebody asked, I go everywhere and I see no one. Because it's not about putting yourself in so many places. It's about how you show up and the experience that you have in those environments. So whether you're introverted or extroverted, it doesn't matter. I've had clients meet their husbands online. I've had clients meet their husbands at work. I've had clients meet their husband through friends and family members. I've had clients get asked on dates walking down the street, at the grocery store, at the train station, and so on and so forth. All sorts of places. Because these men are available and they have eyes. Let me put it that way. He can see you. He doesn't need you to be in a setting to see you. As long as he has eyes, he has ears, he can see you. Right? And usually, I've had clients meet men at the gym, just all sorts of places. I can't remember all the places, but I'm just saying this to show you that the problem isn't that you're an introvert. The issue is, how are you showing up in spaces and how are you positioning yourself? In other words, how are you packaging yourself? Because I really want you to understand what I mean by positioning. How are you packaging yourself? How do people perceive you? And more specifically, how do you interact with men? How are you creating opportunities for men to approach? How are you creating opportunities for you to converse with men and to really build that skill of being feminine and flirtatious? All of which I work with you on when we work together, by the way. But yeah, that's my answer to your question. What extent of physical attraction and friendship should one have towards a man before dating him? If you have to ask yourself that question, you're just not attracted to him. It's just that simple. It's either you're attracted or you're not attracted. There's no mathematics around this thing. When you're attracted to a man, it's literally a physical response. Your body responds to him. If it's in your head, you're not attracted. It's that simple. And this is a simple test I do with my clients as well. They are not allowed to talk to men they are not attracted to. Because I already know, that's not your husband. I'd rather, you were not talking to anyone than talking to a man that is worse than talking to no one at all, which is a man that you are not even interested in to begin with. That's literally just a waste of your time. So it's that simple. And if you are attracted to him, how are you creating opportunity for him to know you're interested? And there are many ways to do this, You could work from the visual side of things, Make sure he sees you when you look really nice, and you're always look nice, of course, but make sure he sees you when you look really nice and you're dressed well, and, be very conversational around him. Create opportunity for him to be able to ask more personal questions. Flirt a bit never hurts, always helps. So yeah, there's just many opportunities to do that. So it's part of the, when I'm working with my clients, I like to come up with a strategy that suits their personality. So I call it a dating style. You know how, I like heels a lot. I'm always in heels, but some of my friends do not like heels. They like wearing flats, or, sometimes they wear trainers. But I like heels, but that's their style and this is my style. So you need to find your own style in dating, your own personality in dating that naturally suits you, that naturally feels comfortable. You don't want to be doing something that you're not comfortable with. So part of the work I like to do with clients is just making sure they're wearing the right heels, for lack of a better way of putting it, so that when you're interacting with men, you're comfortable, because there's no point having conversations with guys and you can barely make eye contact. No one can hear what you're saying. You're mumbling your words. You're sweating bullets. You can't look him in the eye. That's not going to help you. That's not going to help you at all. So when I say talk to men, that's definitely not what I mean. Okay, so probably the problem, if you're facing that kind of situation, is you're just not comfortable with the way you're being, with the way you're expressing yourself, and we just need to find a style or a personality. We need to find a style or a personality jacket, for lack of a better way of putting it, that makes you expressive, make eye contact with men, smile. It's literally part of the work. I will sit with my clients and work with them on talking to men with a level of confidence that is natural to them, role playing through the process of how they can express themselves and how they can make suggestions to men without sounding masculine, and build that desire for a man to pursue that should be there. When you're doing all these things, you won't be guessing. It's not a guessing game. There's never, when a guy is interested, he's interested. Think about a guy you don't like, or a guy that has been on your neck or on your case that you are not attracted to. You are not attracted to him, but he's interested. The problem is, for some reason, when it's a guy you're interested in, you kind of forget to do that. But you need to be consciously aware of how men act to be able to know if he's genuinely interested in you. And just because he says he likes you doesn't mean he's interested in you, by the way. I'll just add that in there. But yeah, do we have any other questions before we end this live? That's pretty much it. If you want to work with me one-on-one to actually get into a relationship that will lead to marriage and make this happen within a year, then click the link in my bio and first tab to book a call with me. If you're the right fit, we'll hop on a call. I'll give you a plan of action based on your own personal and specific dating experiences that will get you from single to married when we work together one-on-one. I will talk to you guys again soon, and make sure to share this video with a sister friend. Bye for now.